What's going on? What's going on? I found myself today just rearrange my whole setup. This is sort of recording studio setup. I really like it. It feels good. Feels good. Feels very much. I'm centering on having this beautiful fire in the foreground. So this is a step in the right direction. Just got to master some of the audio here. Oh. You know, it's funny, I found myself these last few months, really just like kind of just deep dive into live streaming, streaming for the first time in my life, kind of figuring out if this is something that I really can intuitively align with, really just find the value within. And it's funny, I was kind of reflecting on this yesterday, where it feels like streaming when it's very intentional, when you allow yourself to really see the value and the ability within it, it can basically really powerfully kickstart your creative experience, your creative process. Basically, a live stream, when you allow it to be so, can actually help facilitate your creative process. Can actually really give you this container, this portal, which makes perfect sense, to some degree. I think when you think of having a place to bounce questions and answer questions from your community, it makes perfect sense. But I think maybe for the majority of us, it's kind of like we haven't necessarily practiced the skill set of learning to hold space, learning to realize how much our ability to set an intention of what we desire to do, with, say, a live stream or a community full of people. Hook up to an amp or no? I am hooked up to an amp, actually. Well, not an amp, actually, it's Ableton. I have Ableton hooked up, so it's to an audio interface. What is good? What is good, Nina? Hello, hello. But yeah, for some reason, that's what intuitively flows through for me. Is I think a lot of us, we may not be conscious of it, of how powerful the ability to hold space, create a space, like, say you're just like, you have a room full of people, maybe you're just like in a group of your friends, or you are in a live stream per se, and you as an individual are able to set the tone for how you are experiencing this, and how the other people are able to also, collectively experiencing something healthy, or something aligned, or something very beautiful together, or not. What's good, Rami? You're new to YouTube, or just new to this place, this stream? Facts. Yeah, welcome, my guy. Well, I'm a pretty new streamer myself, so yeah, welcome, my dog. You know, it's interesting because, you know, these last 6 months, I've really just pulled the trigger on being a YouTuber. You know, I've been deep diving, envisioning what I feel like my journey is going to be looking like in the next, you know, 5, 6 months and beyond. And man, I'm really happy to see that there's blips and glimpses of YouTubers that are out there. You know, some of these YouTubers, some of these people that are putting content out there, you know, maybe they're sort of like they have 100,000 subscribers, maybe they're in a larger capacity, but there's YouTubers out there, very simply, I'm saying, that I've found have inspired me to see what it looks like to build like a really powerful, intentional community. And this is surely what I've been doing this for. How long have I been playing guitar? I've been playing guitar for 16 years, yeah. Yeah, 16. 10 acoustic, and then 6 before that on the electric. Yeah, and that's part of what I do on this channel. Is I teach people guitar. I teach like riffs. I teach pinch harmonics. I teach tapping. That's kind of what I've been focusing. So if any of you guys have any questions relating to music as a whole or a guitar, feel free to ask questions. I think my third string's out of tune here. Yeah. There we go. Now we're in tune. I also play guitar sometimes as a hobby. That's dope, bro. I mean, honestly, I commend you highly just for like taking the plunge, for deep diving into guitar, because I think it doesn't necessarily matter if you're a hobbyist, if you're like, you know, just a dude who's like for example, I personally think I would actually be very happy basically just living like in a remote mountain, or like, you know, maybe in some like monastery far away from society, or maybe like, you know, I have like a beautiful little like cottage or like a home in a small village in some like mystic faraway mountain place just playing guitar. I really feel like I would actually be like euphoric just having that. You know, maybe with my partner, I would just live in some beautiful sort of nature valley and play guitar, you know, just because. It's like, I don't think you really need a whole lot in life to be like truly happy. But country music, if I can, honestly, country music's not my genre. Like, I could play chords that I think are country type, you know, like I don't know if that's country. Is that country? That's kind of nice. Some A minor 7. I think country is kind of just like literally just chord progressions that are like happy, that always like resolve into a happy place. So just like G major, D major, just A minor 7, E7. Just so happy. It's I think that's country. I don't know. I'm not like a country musician, but yeah, dog. You can rip Purple Rain, but still have some original in there. Huh. Purple Rain. Honestly, not familiar with what Purple Rain is. I can look into it at some point to kind of figure it out. I'm sure I could play it, but I just basically do originals here. Hey, you Canadian? I am. I am Canadian. I'm in British Columbia. Yeah. Let's see. Society sucks. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting because I was watching this YouTuber called Soul of Jared. Very interesting individual. He basically lives in like I think it's like remote areas of Thailand right now. He's like a American dude who basically uprooted his life and went and lived in a some sort of like Thailand village where he just farms magic mushrooms and does ancient medicine on like a retreat. But basically, Soul of Jared on his channel, he released a video about a year ago, which I really appreciated, where he was sitting on a beach and he basically was just expressing that he has nothing to say. He's like, I have a massive channel. I feel grateful to have a community, but he was like, lately in life, he recognized that the more he looks at his life, he realizes that he has really nothing to say. Like, it's almost like, and I think what I liked about his point was he was saying that in the context of it, we're just monkeys, floating through space on this giant rock and there's water and all this thing. But it's like, it's kind of like the design of reality, design of nature is already perfect. Everything's already perfect. Reality as it is, like the design that we live in is beautiful and perfect as it is. And long story short, yeah, he was kind of just expressing that in society and like humanity, a lot of us were just trying to like make sense of, we're trying to like intellectualize and articulate things so in depthly. But the reality is, it's like, it's beautiful when you come to the core realization that, yes, and I genuinely believe this, a lot of reality, it needs the ability to honor stillness. Like a lot of us, we literally are deeply desiring and requiring the means to not say more, not intellectualize more, not grasp at more, but to be at peace with less. Like genuinely to be like, how can we honor nothingness? How can we honor that which is truly beyond the mind? And it is a simple domain. And sometimes it is just accepting that we don't need more. We don't need to try to understand more. We don't need to, intellectualize more. It's like we can just try to return to something that's aligned with this design of nature. But yeah, anyways. What's good, Mark? What's good? Loki, I need advice. I'm not a total beginner. I know a few chords. I got you, brother. Let's see, but I'm still struggle with my finger reaching around the E string. I don't know how to train my fingers at this point. So you say you can't reach the E string. Well, fundamentally, this is what I really like to offer to many people if they're asking about beginner guitar stuff. Now, fundamentally, the most important part of guitar isn't necessarily like, engaging in all this like, almost like more like elaborate technical stuff. Really, what you want to be focused on if you're a total beginner is learning to synchronize your hands. So whether you're just doing this, want to develop finger strength and of course your calluses on, say, the first and second string, like you want to learn to just synchronize your left and right hand as effectively as possible. Whether you're using a pick, I like to do finger style, but I also do pick stuff. But like that is such a pivotal part that is extremely important when you're a beginner. But what I would say for you, brother, thumb placement. That's probably what you're struggling with. I'll be honest, I struggled for this for like 4 or 5 years. I mean, I began when I was about 11 years old, but for the first like 4 or 5 years, I struggled so much with thumb placement. And no one really outwardly tells you this, because, if you're playing a bar chord, right? I'm playing a bar chord. My thumb is in a very specific spot, right? It's like the midway point on the back side of the neck, and I'm doing it on like a weird angle where I'm just like angling. That's what I find is comfortable. So it's whatever's comfortable, but I don't have massive hands. Like my hands are just regular size. But the reality of it is, thumb placement is literally everything. If you're trying to do like, legatos on the first and second string, your thumb placement changes. If you're doing stuff right here, thumb placement changes. If you're doing stuff up here, my thumb placement changes. So for one, I highly invite you, obviously you got to strengthen your hands. You want to build dexterity, you want to build the ability to find the perfect tension point of how you're fretting, because that will help you so you will not fatigue your hands. But thumb placement, brother, that's everything. So to original with face, or with, yeah, with original face cream is like, yeah, dog, thumb placement. Think about it. See it? Like, my thumb placement is literally rapidly changing, and it's beautiful. And even if I'm going, like, doing stuff up here, like double hand legatos, thumb placement becomes complete. I'll probably actually, what I'm going to do after this stream is I'm going to make a video. I'll make a short, maybe a long format, where I'm just going to talk all about thumb placement, because this is important. Like, my thumb is hopping all over the place, very intentionally. But yeah, dog. Namaste. Appreciate you, brother. Namaste. Beautiful word. Beautiful word. Monkeys on a rock. Yeah, dog. I feel like, not my words. Shout out Life of Jared, or Soul of Jared. Shout out. But that's a very Terence McKenna-esque thing. Is Terence McKenna refers to that all the time. Like, it's just like returning to that core. I realize we are monkeys. We're just monkeys, like floating through space. Missed that key there. What do you do for a living, brother? I work in film, so I do acting. I'm primarily a background actor. I've done some stunt stuff, but I've done some principal acting, but I'm primarily background acting. So I work in film, where I get paid to just like meet actors, play guitar. I bring my guitar to set, and then I just eat fruit all day. Yeah. The universe doesn't mean recognize the universe inside of you. Pause. Nah, but I feel you, brother. Truthfully, like, let's be real here. Those kind of sentiments, like recognizing, like, when someone says namaste, this is what I really like about namaste. It's like, I don't use that term a lot. I don't hear that term a lot. In Canada, that's kind of like, maybe a person that's more spiritually connected will use it because it's an ancient word, naturally. Namaste is like a very, like, ancient, organic word. Much like the word Ashe. My channel is called Ashe. This is my moniker. It's not my actual name. My name is Ryan. But Ashe is a very ancient, very powerful word. I actually didn't even know what it was when I learned this word. I actually did a form of DMT about 7 years ago for the first time. And I was sitting by the mountains, like on this viewpoint, staring at the mountains. And I was meditating for about an hour. And for whatever reason, this word just immediately flowed through. I just felt such bliss staring at the sunset. And I just said to myself, yeah, just, Ashe. Just so happy. Didn't know what it meant. But the more I've learned to what this word means, I realized it was very significant. And I think namaste surely has a similar meaning, where it's like, the universe in me recognizes the universe in you, or it's like, what does it necessarily mean? The soul in me recognizes the soul in you, I believe. But it's beautiful because, like, that is such a powerful sentiment. Like, to say someone, namaste, like, I really recognize the soul in you. That's not a thing a lot of us say often to each other, but maybe we should, it's beautiful. What do the sound of your flute with you? What do the sound, the flute? I thought you mean, like, what does the sound of the flute mean to me, or what does it elicit? I like that. Yeah, but it's interesting, actually. I'm not sure where exactly your question is, but from what I interpret, I've had actually a really gorgeous human being. She kind of told me that she sees this flute as a ritual, as a prayer. Like, it's like the way she hears it, it's like, she sort of immediately, she made this connection. She was like, that sounds like it's just a prayer. It's like a ritual. It's like a ceremony. The sound of the pan flute, which I agree with 100%. Like, I've been playing the pan flute for about 6 years now. And I often don't, like, I connect intuitively with the instrument. Like, when I'll do mushrooms, I'll go into the forest and play pan flute for like hours. And the idea is, this instrument particularly, it's pretty difficult to learn. Like, it's not a very basic instrument. But once you unlock it, the sound is a very, like, ancient, a very, very, like, diverse sound. Because it's like part of what's interesting about the pan flute is it's Romanian, right? It's a Romanian instrument. There's also Peruvian styles, which I started with, but it also, this one's from Poland, but it can produce like a Native American sound, a Japanese sound. It can produce like a Celtic Scandinavian sort of sound. It just has like a, almost like it transcends regular culture. This is what I've noticed. One second. But yeah, beautiful instrument. I feel very honored to have it, and like it's the kind of thing that I feel like, in essence, the pan flute. You know, many instruments I play. You know, I play a lot of like guitar, a lot of piano, a lot of electric guitar. I love music as a whole, but any movies you play in. I mean, I was a background, so I'm not like a noticeable character. Maybe you can find me if you really look closely, but I was in The Last of Us, Percy Jackson series, The Flash, and Tracker. Yeah. I think I need to turn this down a little bit to master it. Yeah, but man, life is wild. Like I feel like I've had this very interesting week where I hit 1,000 subscribers, right? And I'm like really happy to hit that mark. Like that was somewhere I was growing for a while, and I felt like I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Alush, appreciate you, brother. Thank you. But the reality is, like, I feel like I've taken these last like 5 days to really just like take a step back and like really like double down on my vision of being like, all right, where do I really desire? Like, what can I really do to actively create the next phase of this journey? You know, to really just bring my larger vision to life with this channel. Because I think even as a streamer, right, as a YouTuber, streamer, whatever, as I kind of spoke of in the beginning, this is a thing that I think requires a very deep level of presence. You know, whether we're conscious of it or not, it's like, in the simplest right, if you're, say, a person that's like, I want to be a streamer, I want to be a YouTuber, right? You plunge into that portal, and you're, say, not very aware of what your intention is, of, you know, what you want to bring to this community, of what you personally see and resonate with within this realm. It's like, basically, it can deteriorate you, can destroy you, it can decay your balance, your harmony in life. Because this is obviously, when you're, say, a content creator, a streamer, or a YouTuber, you're engaging with your phone. You know, you're creating this very unique relationship with technology, which inevitably, in many rights, a lot of us by default, we have a very maladaptive programming, maladaptive conditioning. Like, right, a lot of us by default, we are absorbing a lot of programming that is not truly empowered, is not truly connected and unified. And I think this is where our quest begins. Like, this is where, if we can recognize, wait a second, where and how can we actually begin to develop an empowered and connected relationship with this very thing, this portal, this phone, right, this technology. I think that's just a deeply important thing. And once you recognize this is basically where my path has begun with YouTube, right? As I personally see my mission to try to offer an authentic presence alongside, you know, my music, my own sort of regular trials and my ups and downs, my journey of what I do musically. But I want to just like, I want to penetrate the programming. I want to like crack open the model and create something different for for the whole larger sort of realm of social media. But YouTube is my favorite. I love YouTube the most. But it's very clear for me where I feel like, especially these last 5 6 days, where I feel like I want to go with this, with my YouTube channel. Among various, like, I want to sort of do all the quintessential YouTuber stuff. Like, I feel like I'm very new to this kind of this this journey, but I feel like what I know I need to do in the YouTube sphere is very clear. Like, I really just want to bring people that I really like resonate with and have like powerful dialogues. You know, it's kind of like in many rights, facts. Yeah, fair. Yo, appreciate you chiming in, Rami. Definitely like feel no pressure, no expectation to be here. Like exit at your own leisure, engage in your own leisure. It's like that's kind of what I really desire to do, and I appreciate the sincere thought, the sincere compliment, Yugen. It's like Yugen, man, that's really interesting. Your name's Yugen. That's a really cool word. Like that word has a really deep meaning. But yeah, anyway, part of what I think is really valuable, like as I just kind of expressed, is I want people to see this space as a safe space, or even just like as a meditative space, a space where obviously there's no pressure. You can engage and disengage whenever you desire. Like I will do the same. I'm going to treat this as the very same. I have no desire to sort of create this kind of like inorganic space where I want people to come and go freely, and also recognize that there is an intention in this space. If you want to be here to kind of just listen to the music, if you just want to reflect thoughts or whatever, that's part of the intention I want to create here. So that's part of what I'm feeling. What's poppin'? I'd like to believe so. I don't know. I think it's a mysterious journey, my guy. Like, I was streaming a lot the last couple weeks, and my last week it slowed down, but 2 weeks back it like blew up where I was literally getting like thousands of views, and then it just kind of like steadily did its own thing. So I feel like at this point I'm just kind of chilling, right? I'm just trying to be present and explore and experiment as much as possible, as much as it aligns with me, but also, like I kind of said once or twice, what I'm desiring to do in these next week or so is I'm going to basically release a lot of very potent, very deep dive. Yeah, I'm going to just deep dive in a lot of content. I'm going to bring guests. I'm going to do like content where I'm going to do like really interesting discussions. Like that's what I'm aiming to continue to do. Relating to music, relating to being an artist and all that stuff. But yeah, I just want to kind of just like break the mold. I just want to break open the mold and just kind of do something very, very different that people will just be like, whoa, this is really interesting. Let's see, I think I'm gonna hook up my synth here. Now you can play Hotline Bling. Honestly, I don't even remember how Hotline Bling goes, truthfully. Like, if I were to try. It doesn't have much melody, I must say. Like, I think the whole aesthetic is the lack of melody, and Drake just, like, saying some sort of unhinged stuff. hello, hello, and goodbye. Original song is Arabic. Huh. I'm using, what is it? I think it's just called synthetic strings on Ableton. Yeah, it's literally just like, you go on Ableton, it's an Ableton preset. That's just there. Really dope one, though. I gotta say, it's like the best one that I've ever experienced. It's like a string quartet. Yeah, very balanced. Very balanced. What's going on? What's going on, friend? What's going on? I mean, I would say a lot of the playing style that I do is probably just like modern finger style. Like it's a mixture of kind of like modern progressive rock finger style or modern, yeah, percussive finger style. Mixed with sort of Spanish influence, maybe like very like gypsy style also. Yeah. I'm curious if any of you guys are familiar with what's it called? Something called Dark Night of the Soul. You know, I found myself today thinking a lot about what scale am I playing in right now. I'm playing in primarily E. Yeah, I think the scale E minor kind of, but yeah. Maybe E major actually? Major. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of bounce around, but primarily E. Yeah. Must have heard Original Sin by Tim Henson. I 100% have heard it, I think once. Yeah, it sounds pretty dope. That's wicked, though. I love Tim Henson. He's dope. Ooh. Yeah, but I found myself think a lot today. I was like doing a cold plunge earlier, and I kind of was just like thinking, I was like, man, what really is like the essence of what brings people back from incredibly intense creative blocks? Like I kind of just was thinking about this. I'm like thinking deeply. Like there's like it's almost like there's a completely different mentality that I think people have to evoke or summon. You know, be it it's almost like psychologically, belief system wise, to go through the experience of basically having like a loss of creative momentum. Like say you do something and your ego is like completely shattered. You know, you're just like you do something like a performance or you do something creatively and your ego just takes it really hard. You're just like, damn, like that really, knocked the wind out of my sails, so to speak. I think it's like there's a very particular mentality that honors that process of having yourself received in such a vulnerable place, in such a intense place where basically you lose creative momentum. Like it's almost like if you think of something where someone's like really creatively inspired and then they may do something where suddenly they become so creatively removed, their creative energy is just depleted. It's like they feel like uninspired because maybe, I don't know, the perception of the people around them that maybe validated them or did not validate them really cracked their ego. I think this is a really important thing to observe in relation to being a performance artist. Basically, what I'm simply getting to is I think as a performance artist, it's actually extremely important to basically have a deeply seated belief. For one, you obviously love yourself, you honor yourself, you don't require validation because you are valid just for being, just for existing, right? But the secondary belief is almost like you have to have like a resilient, tenacious, and penetrating belief that you actually just don't care. Like you don't give a fuck, so to speak, of what other people, their opinions are of you. I mean, obviously you want to, honor your peers, unification, collective, sort of you want to have love for something that is larger than yourself. But it's almost like you have to have a very specific level of like self-awareness to what your value is to enter a creative domain and be received where maybe it just hurts your ego. It like shatters your ego where you're just like, wow, I thought I was here, or I thought, this, that, and the other. And then suddenly you lose creative momentum. And I'll be honest, as a creative dude, this has happened endlessly. This has happened over and over and over again over the last, 15, 16 years. Doesn't happen a lot anymore, but I just want to speak about that. It's like, I think, and the core essence of what I'm trying to articulate, did I stumble upon a music studio? Yeah, brother, we're in a music studio. Well, it's my music studio. It's my music studio. Can you play some soulful on that? I probably can, yeah. Soul. Soul. Wait, what is soul? It's like funk, but like, damn. I'm gonna assume we're in like the major scale. That doesn't sound very soul. Oh, that's what I think soul. I think like crunchy bass lines and like silky chords. Of course, probably a pick and more like actual bass guitar, but yeah, soul is great. Like funk and soul. I have no idea how I'd play it on a synthesizer, to be honest. Strings doesn't sound very soulful. But yeah, just long story short, I think the way I've been processing all of the way from India, I've glanced in your channel. Looks like influenced by Indian philosophies, like Osho. Absolutely, brother. You're 100% correct, actually. I mean, I, yeah, I mean, Osho, as he is, he's an Indian. Phenomenal human being. I remember he's expressed in his books very openly. He loves the culture, but a lot of how his perceptions of like what I think it was like Indian religion, he kind of likes to challenge those models in a respectful way. I mean, I'm sure he's like, yeah, but I love Osho. I love everything about his philosophies. I love his like his realm of how he embodies tantra and his awareness of basically penetrating a lot of the molds and the lot of the, yeah, the dynamics of the modern world. he's really definitely shaped a lot of my perceptions relating to models of love, relating to models of creativity, relating to, yeah, just a lot of deeply seated things. I really love Osho for that. And even the fact of the matter, like, I think what Osho does very brilliantly, even his like personal philosophies aside, is Osho, for whatever reason, he even speaks that this is the way he was always as a kid, is he doesn't care about challenging the models. Actually, he sees the importance in saying controversial things for the sake of understanding what the real larger model is. And I think his example of how he perceives love, of how he understands love, at least as he explains in his book, Love, Freedom, and Aloneness. Osho loves to just openly state that a lot of us, very fundamental, we just have no idea what love actually is. We misconcept the model of love. We think it is one thing where it's so fundamentally askewed, our perception of love. But the beauty of this, how I remember understanding this, is what's even more extraordinary is it's not that the fact that we understood love, to a degree, in an incorrect way, in a broken, sort of like almost like conditional, almost like manipulative way. It opens our heart to the awareness of being like, wait, if we've never experienced a genuine, healthy, abundant model of love, then the beauty is on the other side. We can open our mind and our heart to actually understand what true love is, like what actually seeing what this beautiful, nourishing, integrated, unconditional energy of love is. And of course, this transfers into all dimensions. We can talk about like the larger dimension of love, but he's also talking about romantic love, like very specifically. It's like a lot of us, we have this very like convoluted model of love. And Osho just likes to just penetrate that with like, hey, like let's actually look deeper into, beside the societal misconceptions, like what really is this? What does this really look like? And why do a lot of us try to almost like hold on to this model of love that is not truly aligned with this deeper sense of what it is? And I don't know, I haven't read the book in a while, but I'll be honest, a lot of his core philosophies I've focused on integrating for many years, and it's definitely shaped the foundation of how I am today. And I feel like I'm a way happier, way more open-minded, free-thinking person because of his philosophies. But anyways, Eshe, I'm the kid that you saw yesterday. With my kid in front of Scrap. That's awesome. That's awesome, brother. I had a feeling you'd pop on, brother, at some point. That's great. Yeah, because what I find is very interesting, without getting too philosophical, is this is a core takeaway that I understand from understanding Osho's teachings. And this is actually something that you'd observe in a lot of philosophical teachings is what if, again, the same sort of context with how we understand the model of love. What if we have a misconception relating to not just the model of love, but just the model of trust, the model of various things, like the models of maybe respect and understanding? It's almost like, how profound is it to understand how little we actually know about some of these like core things that relate to our values and relate to how we perceive things? Yeah. Thank you, dog. I'll play some guitar as you're exiting. I appreciate you, brother. Young brethren. Wicked, wicked. very cool. Yeah. But I think it's very interesting, again, like observing the way that if I try mescaline, not yet. Not yet. I would love to though. I love cactuses as a whole, but cactus medicine seems like it seems very similar to mushrooms, I would say. At least observing from what I understand about it. I think there's something very powerful in learning to honor silence. Like really just being like, it's something that I constantly see myself kind of reflect on. I'm like, interesting. Like there's so many invitations to exit silence, so many, invitations to verbalize, to conceptualize, to intellectualize. But it blows my mind when I'm like, what if, as we are, what if we give ourselves permission? What if we invite to silence? Like, what if we see that isn't this an interesting opportunity in some instances to just embody silence? It's beautiful. Let's master that a little bit for that. He's a real itolator. Interesting. How long have you been playing the instruments? I've been playing guitar for like 16 years now. Acoustic 10 years. Yes. Yeah. Let's see. So challenge the perceived notions that we've had about certain things like pleasure. Yeah. Seeing love. And that's what's considered to be controversial. It's powerful. Like that's the thing is like, before I knew a lot about Osho, like I read some of his books, didn't know who he was, but a lot of people, shared their thoughts like, oh, word, you've seen the documentaries, you heard the controversies. And I've actually met people that were in Osho's uh, following. Their parents were, and they were, and they knew a lot about Osho's teachings. And 1000%, he definitely is a controversial dude. And hell, let's be real, it's funny. My partner, my intimate partner, she likes to like kind of jest, like poke fun at that. Pretty much everything is a cult. Like it's like humans, we like to just do this thing where suddenly, the second something becomes more significant, it's like bam, we're in a cult, and like it's kind of bizarre because yeah, the absolute reality is yes, like so many things immediately seem to become a cult per se, and I think Osho was a perfect example of a spiritual, like meditative retreat, a spiritual leader who had wisdom, he had genuine wisdom, he had genuine followers who loved him, who saw that he was a truth seeker, and to some degree, I'm sure that his truth, his core messages got convoluted. I'm sure to some degree, modern society began to evolve, and we went through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and whatever once was something that was pure, that had a pure message, Osho himself, I'm sure he just went on the human path. He's a human. Like, this is a thing that I find very bizarre. Can I play a Youngblood song? Honestly, bro, I haven't. The one song I really like of Youngblood's song, like I like a lot of his songs, is California, but I haven't learned to perform that song in a long time. But I love Youngblood. That dude's a genius. Yeah, but I really think with Osho, it's almost like if I were to really try to understand his like mentalities, he was a dude that really had a deeply spiritually rooted reality. He lived and he like embodied a lot of the like most profound elements of true spiritual practice, a sincere spiritual practice. But I think also the more we understand what it means to be spiritual, what it means to be a human being, just a regular human being that is integrated, this 3D human experience, it's very difficult, if not possible, to remove the humanity from this human experience. So even if you're like entering a place where you're trying to ascend into some sort of higher state of consciousness, you still are a human being. You cannot just, cut yourself off and, divorce yourself from humanity and being a human. Some people do, and I'm sure maybe they achieve something, maybe they do so with a divine mission, but most people, I'm sure there's a consequence because we're human beings. Even if we become a spiritual or divine being to some degree, like we integrate the astral experience, we are human beings integrating the spiritual experience. So we have to always simply honor our human experience. I really feel this is important, especially for like you and I, of us that are like still on the path, that are still trying to figure it out, navigate this society and this 3D world. Is like, we can't divorce our humanity. We can't pretend that we're not just human beings, that we're not just primal beings. I think that's where the deepest levels of corruption and misconception arises, when we divorce ourselves from the fact that, we're human beings and this is beautiful, this is magnificent, this is magical, this is why we're here. We're human beings. We get to experience this. We get to experience the turmoil. We get to experience all these arrays of what it means to be human. And no part of us is trying to deny that and divorce ourselves from it. Playboy Cardi. I have no idea, bro. I've literally I don't know Playboy Cardi. Not familiar. Let's return back to music. Good harvest with the right intention, and work will bring it. Yeah. A real idolater. Yeah. Idolater. Never heard that word, but I know what you mean. Yeah. He's, yeah. Again, this is a whole different topic, but I'm 31, so I'm not in my 20s, but I'm going to look like I'm 18 or 19 or whatever till I'm 50. It's kind of that's my genetics, but I'm also very healthy. So I am very, very healthy. So I think my genetics plus lots of very healthy practices is I'm just going to look young, I think. But I'm not married now. I'm in a relationship, but I'm surely not married. I'll be honest, without going too deep into more unsolicited advice. Just kidding, but yeah, I mean, deadass, I believe in devotion. I believe in long-term relationships. I believe in, humans devoting themselves to a sacred bond and connection. But I don't think marriage is necessarily the path for many people, for a lot of people, actually. That doesn't say, though, that one shouldn't desire to have a marriage or create a sacred bond or matrimony or whatever you want to call it, but I don't know, that's a funny topic that I think I have strong opinions about, but they're very well founded. They're very well understood why I believe marriage is kind of not really the path. It's not necessarily the way. Obviously, again, devotion, a truly long-term committed relationship that is based on devotion, beautiful. I can 1000% agree with that, and I believe in that. But yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre. I know. Yeah. Again, I like to say I think I just have good genetics. I have good genetics. I exercise a lot. I eat very clean. I do lots of quintessential healthy practices. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a weird, but also a fun endeavor. Looking young, where it's it's kind of cool to think that when I'm 50, I'm still gonna look like 30. When I'm 70, I'm still gonna look like 50. When I'm 80, I'm probably gonna look like 60. It's just that's an interesting thing. It's I'll always be defying time. It seems, which is kind of cool. I'm gonna flip down some of this. Okay, DK, yes. Bradley, sure. DI, yeah. Bad attack. I missed away. Talk about your music taste, please. I would love to, brother. Brother or sister. So I think through the law of attraction, I will find love. Meanwhile, I am a whole. Later, I'll be able to expand my collective vessel further. That's a beautiful perspective. I'm confident. I'm confident in you, brother. I'm confident in you. I feel like the way you've shown up and the way it appears you show up continually is you're a rare one. You're philosophically developed, and I feel like keep on evolving. Stay on the path. Keep expressing your higher truth. Keep unapologetically being, and yes, you will align with the truest reflection of love. Absolutely. Always one T. I think that's a song, I assume, but I don't know. Yeah, about music taste, I actually have a post. I have a post that I actually made recently. So if you're subscribed to this channel, there's a post that I made where I posted some of my favorite influences. But some of them I didn't talk about. But what I often say on the stream is, so my core inspirations is Andy McKee. So you may be familiar. He's like Andy McKee, has like a beard, shaved head, wears like malas, has a harp guitar, beautiful, incredible musician. He is actually the core reason why I picked up this guitar like 10, 11 years ago and pursued this style of music. Now, of course, there's more artists than just him that has actually formed my style, like artists like Grayson Earhart, John Gaume, Alexander Misko, and Eustace Ton, especially Eustace Ton. Now, the funny thing about Eustace Ton is like, he's like a, almost like classical gypsy style, that's what he calls it. Like stuff like that. That's very Eustace Ton, right? But the idea is Eustace, he plays a classical guitar, but he plays in a very specific way. This is what I've noticed, and he explains this to some degree. He talks about it, where he plays in like a free-form way, where he's trying to like basically continuously improvise and expand off of what he's playing. Like he's just constantly just like in a state of flow, where he's stuff like that, where it's like you never know what's going to happen next. It's just like so free form, so fluid, so unorthodox, but it's beautiful. It's like soulful, spiritual. And yeah, so Eustace Ton is like a major influence of mine, I must say. But yeah. But yeah, surely, the funny thing is, I speak of this very openly, is I'm also a dancer, a tutter. Like I do tutting. King tutting, liquid, popping, locking animation. Like I've been dancing as long as I've been doing guitar. And the thing is, I actually learned to improvise in dance long before I learned how to play guitar improv. So it's like, whoa. But the idea is that a major way of how I play guitar has been deeply inspired by the way I dance and in the essence of improvisation. So, you know, when I even explain it, it's like you could play a riff, right? I'm just like, bam, I'm going hammering on the 5th on the 2nd string, sliding to the 7th, or going hammering on to the 7th. You could just quintessentially continue this pattern, right? You could be like, pattern is going to the 8th, slide to the 10th. That's pretty basic, right? That's pretty standard. It's like you're moving up the scale. But the idea is, this is the same way if you're dancing, right? You know, when you dance, you can be like, let's go from here to here, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? That's like a basic pattern. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, as you would go 1, 2, 3, 4. But the idea is you can splice it up and deviate from the standard model of how you are weaving in these patterns. So as we are, like I'm like hopping all over the place from different sort of parts of the grid. And it's the same way if I were dancing. I do the same thing. I could go like 1, 2, 3, 4, or I could go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I can just do weird stuff where the grid is unstructured. It's unorthodox. It's like you're basically giving yourself permission to pause at any given moment where you are and split open the grid and create a new one. And that's the same thing for guitar, where if you're like here, you can be like, okay, well, we can create a 1, 2, 3, 4, or a 1, 2, 3, 4. Kind of fuck that, but it's like every moment is an invitation to just completely splice open the grid. And this is what improvisation is. Like, that's like the essence of how you successfully improvise, is you're literally just giving yourself permission to be like, how can I make this more novel? How can I do something so out of the grid, outside of the box, that you have no idea how to predict this? That's really what improvisation is. And you do that over and over and over and over again until next thing you know, your entire playing style is based off of this philosophy. Yeah. Subscribed. Would love seeing dance post. I got you. All I can say is in the next like 5 days, 4 or 5 days, I'm going to release a lot of content that's like long format primarily, where I'm just going to go in deep dive talks. Like, I'm just going to be like talking about my relationship to things like connecting to the body through Qigong, through training protocols, through guitar, this. Like, I'm just going to go and do some deep dives. So yeah, appreciate the subscription, brother or sister. Because I've definitely been feeling that pull, that inspiration, where I'm like, I want to just go off the cuff, just free form, freestyle, create content that is like basically like cracking open the model. Again, what I kind of spoke of earlier is like, I just want to like, that's what I do very often, is like, I see it as like, it begins with challenging the model, right? You look at things, you're like, how can I challenge the models? How can I like look at the things around me and understand how you can create a different realm of functionality? And then eventually you crack it, and eventually you just split it wide open until it's like the model as is like a model of what is, it completely changes. And I think, I'll be honest, this is a very important way of perceiving things, where it's like everything is just it's a reference point. It's an idea of where to sort of enter and understand something. But it's important to challenge models. It's important to challenge like these sort of dynamics. But yeah, I love to meditate. Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I'd love to share some space. Maybe flip this off for a second. Are you a Brahmacharya? I have no idea what that means, brother. No idea. Exactly how you improvise. Exactly how you improvise. Exactly. This guy gets it. This guy, girl. It's like, I swear, it's really, that's the thing I like to reinforce, is improvisation is really easy once you really like give yourself permission to do it. And again, like, I'm a dancer, like I'm a tutter. So for me, it's like I'm improvising all the time in many different avenues of life. Like, it's not just about guitar. For me, I'm improvising, when I speak. I'm improvising when I'm, monologuing, when I'm practicing, say, things like acting for fun, or if I'm like dancing, which I do all the time, or if I'm improvising guitar, creating music or vocalizing. It's like, what I like to advocate, and this is actually something I used to speak very openly when I was new to streaming, is I have a deeply held belief that we as human beings are meant to operate out of a continual state of improvisation. It's basically what we define as flow state. But improvisation is the key. It's to develop your relationship with improvisation. Your ability to be like, just, whoa. botched that completely, but you get what I mean. It's like it's a skill set. You got to develop this relationship with improvisation. But once you do this, once you understand this and you engage in this, you realize that this is the natural state. This is an innate state that we all can access. Yeah. Play G sharp minor. G sharp minor. That sounds like that's a G sharp minor. Beautiful, beautiful. I use this chord actually all the time. Especially when I'm improvising. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful chord. It's interesting that you asked for that chord because that's a very powerful chord, and I use that actually pretty frequently. So I'd like to share a vocalization track with you. Phonemes with harp and violin sounds. It's from a gothic band that is now part of my collection. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, feel free. I mean, I actually made a post on my YouTube where I said, this is a post. I was originally talking about a bunch of stuff, but part of the post was I was inviting people to share music that's actually inspired them in a divine way. So that's absolutely welcome. I would love that, friend. I would love that. Do you like Alexei Laiho? I can't say I'm familiar. Alexei, no. Yeah, I mean, feel free to recommend a song of hers. I'd love to check it out. I mean, I don't know. Let's master this a little bit. Less is more sometimes. Less is more. Very sensitive, very sensitive. Alexei was the guitarist, melodic metal band. Alexei. Huh. Yeah, no, I'm thinking of someone else I know, like MGK. He hired a guitarist that was like a really famous guitarist, but I don't think that's what was her name. I don't know. Oh man, life is great. Alexei was the guitarist, melodic. Man, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Appreciate you sharing, brother. Yeah, I welcome that very deeply. Where I would love, for these like community members to really just like allow themselves to almost like see the core root between how one can connect spiritually with music and let that circulate. I feel like I try to, I'm not doing this very consciously, right? Um, I just feel like my musical journey, as it's unraveled over the last like 4 or 5 years, especially, the more that I've connected to something that I could maybe try to define as like a divine energy or a sacred context in the music, right? It's like, I feel like it's like I'm not trying to play for any other reason than just a raw channel that flows through me. Be it's the emotion that I'm processing and allowing to flow through me. it's like that for some reason has allowed me to accelerate my inspiration and my natural love for music. It's a very bizarre thing. It's like, yeah. And I think it's a thing that we can just see. Like we sense this in other musicians. We see this in other artists. We sort of see this reflect on the way they live their life. It's like it's almost like what I would simply say is like what I think a lot of musicians that I would say look at, ones that I would recommend, artists like Astas Ton or Porangui or Wagal, like these are artists where you can see that they're the product of a person that has been healed and has integrated a deeper truth in their music. Like music has been like a powerful portal that's transformed them from the inside out. And then they are just embodying it. It's like they're basically like a vessel for spiritual messages within the music. And it's interesting because, I mean, we could say that all musicians are in that some right. Terence McKenna speaks the modern musician is like a shaman. We're like the modern shaman. We have a contextual relationship with a divine other. We use muses and we interact with the other, and then we bring back messages to extract to society. So we could say all musicians technically are in the same role, but I think some musicians, like if you look at like maybe like a modern musician who's like still figuring out their journey, who's like maybe a mainstream musician in the music industry, who's not really like spiritually shifted. And obviously this has more to do with what's going on behind the scenes than them just as a musician, but it's like they basically have maybe not fully unlocked the capacity to experience something deeper or channel music in a different way that reflects on what they do musically. I honestly have no idea how to play Green Day, brother. No idea how to perform it. It's good music, though. It's good music, I must say. Very nice. Wonderful. All right. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a break for now. I'm going to drink some cacao, work on some studio recording music. Yeah. Work on some content. But yeah, thank you so much for chiming in. Deeply appreciate the support. And if this content resonates with you, feel free to follow this channel. Yeah, I teach music and I do meditative style live streams. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Much love. Bless. Ashe.